This is Charlie Parsons Boxing Social. Landed off the plane from Dubai yesterday for the Global Titans event, Mayweather versus Deji. I'm joined by Paul Bamba. Paul, obviously not the situation that you would have hoped for us to be doing interview-wise. I'm sure you would have been like to doing post-fight interviews with all the media and stuff. Look, we spoke, and the whole boxing public have been made aware of everything that's going on your end. We spoke at the weigh-in on Saturday, and you said, look, the fight might not be off. Tommy's overweight. Since then, we heard the Fury camp have received a separate contract. Look, I suppose I'll go into that first, actually. Why, from your conversation with the team at the Global Titans, why have they sent different contracts to you and Tommy? And then why have they expected you to fight at an uncontracted way? Do you feel like they've sort of tried to force you into a position where, you're out there and you have no choice?
Oh yeah, it's totally what they try to do. I didn't even know it was legal to sanction a bout with two separate contracts of two separate weights. I was unaware of that. I've actually posted my contract on Twitter in response to Tommy saying that I didn't want to fight because far from true, still want to fight. Um, yeah, I didn't know about any separate contracts until Tommy said his contract said 81 kilograms. He still happened to weigh in at 82.3 kilograms, which is well over the limit. So I still don't get that. Um, I don't really believe that he had a contract that says that because if he did, me personally being his opponent, I'm entitled to see that, like what the weight is, and I'm like that's how you execute an agreement between two parties, not just hey, I'm a Fury, you got to do what I say. That's not how that works. I've still been asking for it. I've yet to see it. So in my mind, it doesn't exist. It was made as an excuse because somebody was having trouble making weight. Tommy's a big boy. I don't really believe he can fight at light heavyweight. I think he's somebody that likes to come down in size and fight smaller men to make himself look good. I wasn't really having it. I was open. Had I been asked, I would have been open to 81 kilograms anyway. It's 178 pounds. When I fought amateurs, I was 178 pounds, still a light heavyweight. So that would have been fine with me. But there's a difference between a few pounds and 7 pounds. There's weight classes for a reason. It's literally like a whole nother weight class. And I have it on very good authority. The night of the fight, he weighed in about like 203 pounds. And had I been offered the fight to fight a heavyweight match with him, I would have said no. I'm not a heavyweight. That's just like blasphemous almost. It's not a real thing.
So, okay, like I said, we spoke at the weigh-in and you tell me, look, the fight may be off. And then we didn't really hear much that night. And then Sunday it comes out. Um, loads of stuff was going on. The Harley Ben fight got cancelled. Your fight with Tommy was no longer on, and Tommy ended up fighting a 6-by-2 exhibition. There was talks that Anthony Taylor's fight at one point may have even been on. It was a manic couple of hours leading up to the event. We then heard on your side that your one definitely was off. You wouldn't be Tommy Fury's opponent just hours before, and then we're hearing that they threw you out the hotel and they cancelled your flight. So
Yeah.
can I just ask your conversations with the team that you were dealing with directly, why they chose to do that? And also I heard and noted a couple of times that they said that you were speaking to them badly, but you obviously, I've seen receipts and screenshots. You actually, especially on the WhatsApps, I can't speak for something I wasn't there for, but seemed like you tried to be as respectful as possible. And I will also reiterate, in my interview, you did say you were trying to be respectful at the time.
Yeah, I'm a respectful person. I knew I was the B side. I knew I was going in against something where it wasn't going to be 1,000, like 100% fair. But 7 pounds is crazy, and not being treated like a human being, like that's another thing. I had hands placed on me from Imran Ahmed. He's the actual owner of Global Titans. Uday Singh is just the face. He's the CEO. He's really just the face of it. He's not the financial backer. Um, these guys had their hands in my faces in front of about 100 plus people. Excuse my language, but verbatim, he pointed his finger in my face and told me to get the fuck out, and I was nobody. And that was shortly after our weigh-ins, all because I said I was being treated unfairly. And Uday told me I was being a little bitch, verbatim, over a few pounds. A few pounds is 2, 3 pounds. A few pounds is not 7 pounds. Um, so after having hands in my face and stuff like this, I didn't want to talk to anybody from Global Titans. So when they were reaching out to me, and everybody was pretty touchy in that country too. So putting their hands on me, like, hey, like, nah, I don't want to be touched. Don't touch me. Like, and if you need to talk to me, you can talk to my brother because he was there to handle like the logistics side of things anyway. I was by no means disrespectful to anyone. They said I was disrespectful to journalists. Absolutely not. There would be no point to be disrespectful to the journalists because at the time, those were the only people that could get my story out to the general public. So that would have been very counterproductive. So that's just a bold-faced lie. Um, Up until the point where I was pulled off the card, I did everything I was contractually obligated to do. I was I might have not been at like the most respectful, but I was tactful. And I wasn't disrespectful. I might have been a little short with people, so I could see how that could come off disrespectful. But I didn't call anybody out their name. I wasn't cussing. I wasn't doing any of that. I did end up cussing a few times after I was pulled off the card because after a week of being like toyed with, it's I think anybody is
Well,
normal
yeah, and
to
it's
lose.
also a payday that you've missed out on as well. You know, a big opportunity in the Middle East on the zone pay-per-view.
Okay. Um, that was the main thing. So it wasn't really so much as the payday that was missed out on. It was more so I missed out on the opportunity because I would have fought this guy for 10 grand, to be honest, provided I knew the weights up front and everything was on the up and up. If everything was on the up and up, I don't have problems. You know what I mean? So that's the most upsetting thing to miss out on an opportunity like that and a platform like that. Um, I'm crushed. I'm in the hole a lot of money. I over invested and my camp. I was told by a bunch of people to really throw money into it to really like nutrition, strength and conditioning, do all these things because if you make a good chunk of money but you walk away with not too much profit, who cares if you win? If you win, there will be many more opportunities to where it didn't matter if you ended up fighting for free because you won. You know what I mean? So that's the most upsetting part to me. Also, the way I was treated is pretty evenly matched, was which upsetting me as well. Um, I'm a man at the end of the day, and to not be treated as one when I put my pants on the same way as every other man, that alone is upsetting.
Well, let me talk about the financial side of things because, like I say, they threw you out the hotel and your flight was cancelled, and now you're in a hotel in London. And I don't know whether previously it would have been your idea to stop off in London, but I know you yourself are not based in London. So yeah, just on that side, I mean, look, you've not been paid, and I know you say it's not about the money, but like you say, you put a lot of money and time into this camp because it was a huge opportunity. You then haven't been paid for the fight. You've then had to fork out your own money, I assume, and your team have had to fork out their own money for their flights. And now you've had to pay for a hotel in London, and then I'm sure you're going to have to fork out flights to New York.
Yep.
We speak about how crippling boxing can be at times, but for someone who was on the verge of their biggest opportunity ever, do you almost sort of question the authoritative figures behind it and just think almost, away from the whole boxing side, the treatment is a bit almost inhumane, with how much money you've put into this yourself?
Oh, it's 100% inhumane. It's um, it's amazing to me after learning who Imran is that DAZN even decided to get into bed with him, like as far as doing business with him or anything like that. He's like actually a fugitive in Pakistan. So that part's crazy. So he has a history of fraud. He frauded the Italian government out over $1 billion. There's a bunch of articles on it as well. So I don't really. This whole thing just sucks. I pictured my life being extremely different today. Like, as long as I went out there, in my heart of hearts, I knew I was gonna win. But let's just say if I didn't win, as long as I performed, my life would still be different, and there would be many, many opportunities just for showing up and showing out. Um, and now I'm being blackballed essentially, and like not being spoken to by certain things, and being threatened, and all these other things by global titans and their associates. So it just didn't pan out the way I imagined, and it really sucks because that it just when stuff feels right. Like it's like your moment, like it just your gut. I don't know if you're the type of person to go with your gut. I always go with my gut. If I don't get like a little feeling in my stomach, I'm like, hell yeah, it's gonna work. I'm very like big on intuition and stuff like that. So I don't really know how to feel. I'm like very indifferent to life at the moment, to be honest.
So, Paul, what is next for you now? You are in a position where obviously you didn't get the fight, and now you have to regroup, regain, I'm sure. And I suppose the other thing that you worry about is will the opportunity come again? Um, like we spoke about the magnitude of the opportunity. What do you do now when you get back home? I think you're flying into New York, where do you go from here? What is next for you, and how do you overcome this situation? I know at the minute, you'll be quite skeptical about anything, but what's the sort of gut feeling and the feeling of people around you as to your next moves?
I want this fight with Tommy. He's still 8-0. I'm still 5-2. He at this point, as we say in New York, he knows my body. He knows I'm not scared of him. He knows he instills no fear in my heart. John Fury knows that as well. I think that's why he was very respectful to me, because I'm not somebody that just blows over. They're throwing out a rumor right now, and it's a rumor because I know that it's not happening as of yet. That they're supposedly fighting Jake Paul in February. My thing is this: if you're not fighting Jake Paul in February, and you'll know 8 to 10 weeks ahead of time, let me come to the UK and fight you. Give me the same purse. Just make sure I have a flight home and nothing gets canceled. And if I'm such easy work, and if I'm all these things that you said I am, and you're so great, and your levels above me, and all that, and you really didn't lose your bottle, as they say, or as John Fury said, um, let me get the fight, because I won't fight on another Global Titans card. I don't think anyone that boxes should ever fight on a Global Titans card after the stunts they pulled. Boxing is like a mixy sport at times, but this stuff is just actually kind of unheard of. To not be paid anything, to not be reimbursed, to be lied to have multiple contracts drafted, to have somebody tell the commissioner, "I pay you, do your fucking job." That's corrupt as all hell. Um, I don't really know what's next, but I do know that I'm a very tunnel vision type of person. Once I have my mind set on something, that's what I'm going for. And if Tommy really has the balls, like he says, again, if you're not fighting Jake Paul in February, you'll know well ahead of time. Fight me, make that happen. You're Tyson Fury's brother. You have a name. You have the power. Fight me. Prove to the people that you can actually beat me. Because what it looks like is you ran scared. What it looks like is you didn't try to make weight because you needed some handicap. So in your mind, you felt more confident. Because I could tell you that that young man does not seem all that confident when things seem to be stacked against him. We learned that at the open workout when I grabbed his neck, and then he got all flustered and he forgot what day we were fighting and all this other stuff. My man's built for TV, just not boxing TV. He's built to run his mouth. He's built to evoke emotion and look good and be have a suntan and all these good things. I want to fight. I was never brought up in the world of YouTube boxing until Tommy Fury was my opponent. I like I earned this stuff. I come from literally nothing. I've built myself up. My record is my record. That is what it is, but that doesn't say what type of boxer I am. There's like many people have reminded me of. There's a multiple world class champion in Iran Barkley. He had a worse record starting off. and he ended up beating greats like Roberto Duran and all these other people and winning multiple world titles. Because when you lose, if you actually have heart and you got some balls between your legs and you actually want to learn and win and move forward, you make it your business to do so. And that's what I do in boxing. I get better every day. I turned to boxing when I was 26 years old. So I didn't start off too early. You know what I mean? And I've been learning on the go. I have less than 5 amateur fights, less than 10 pro fights. And I think for where I'm at in life and for where I started boxing, I'm not doing too bad to have been picked for such a fight. Um, so I'm going heavy after Tommy Fury. I will expect to continue to call him out. I think these rumors with the Jake Paul fight is really just to take off the steam of what I'm trying to do right now. Yeah, so that's just my main thing. Like, if supposedly he's fighting Jake in February, until that comes out of Jake's mouth, like a lot of stuff that comes out of that family's mouth is like horseshit. It's just for show. They're very good at selling fights. That's what they do, but it's starting to come off like there's con artists. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. If you're a man of honor, and you're all these things, and this fight and this contract really wasn't your fight, send me a proper contract. Make things right. Fight me. I'm easy work, like you said. Your level's above me, like you said. Fight me. Because at the end of the day, the oversight was on your team's behalf. You're still responsible for that. Last time I checked, anybody that does anything on my behalf, I'm responsible for. So if your team signed off on something and you were unknowing and they didn't do their due diligence to pass off the proper things, that's your name that it's on. No one cares if it was your lawyer's fault or your little brother's fault or your other big brother. Like, no one cares. So if it really wasn't your fault and you really think all these things to be true, fight me in February if you don't get that Jake fight. I completely understand if you get that Jake fight, why you would not fight me in February. But if you don't got it in February, let me come fuck you up in the UK. I have no problem doing so. And I'm fully aware that you possess the power, the influence, and you have the cash to make this fight happen if you really want to. If you got a stick between your legs anyway.
All right, Paul, just lastly from me, is there anything in the sort of everything that we've gone over that anything that you haven't mentioned that you would like to bring up that I maybe haven't asked you on, that would have affected the whole circumstances around?
Um, as far as what?
As far as the fight not happening, the way that you were treated, the whole, just everything that's led up from Friday to right now, anything that I haven't included.
Right before I was pulled off the card, John Fury offered me 100 grand on top of my purse to fight his son because they didn't want to fight like a last. Supposedly, I mean, they ended up doing it anyway. So if you don't want to do stuff, normally you don't do it. But before we could agree on it, he offered me an extra 100 grand. He said, "Call your lawyer. We'll get the stuff done." And then Imran Ahmed and Uday Singh, they just did what they did. They interrupted us. They told me I was off the card. He said, once the glass is broken, it can't be fixed, or some weird analogy like that. And essentially, I was pulled off, replaced. And the reason why I spoke out the way I did is because if I hadn't spoken out, we all know boxing. It would have been painted that I pulled out. It would have been painted that I was scared or all these other things. They would have controlled the narrative, and I'd be forgotten. So I had to go about it the way I went about it, and to make sure I could protect myself and be heard, because I can't compete with these guys' wallets or these guys' influence or the Fury name. I can't. They're right about that. I don't have a name. I'm not known. I'm known. I'm known because I got a little bit of heart. That's it. A lot of heart, actually. My fault. Let me not downplay myself. I'm known because I have a lot of heart. I'm known for these things, but I'm not known for being super popular or some like weirdo that does reality TV and then tries to live in his brother's shadow and box. Like, I'm not known for these things. I'm known for being a hardworking individual that goes against the grain. So I can't compete or compare where these things matter more. In life right now, it seems that integrity no longer really matters because people can buy it, or if you're popular enough, things tend to go your way anyway. But like I said, if all these things remain to be true and I'm easy pickings and you don't get Jake, why not prove your point? And the only reason you won't is because you are scared, because now you can control the narrative if you do in fact take me up on this offer, because it will be under, I'm pretty sure he signed to Frank Warren. There would be no issues of this type. You know, everything would be on the up and up. Frank Warren is like a real promoter. These guys were YouTube promoters. They or like just entertainment guys. They thought throwing money at everything is the way boxing works. Boxing has been around for so long and it works so well because there's respect at the end of the day for what fighters do and things of this nature. And yeah, sometimes people have weight clauses and allowances and rehydration, blah, 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 but they're all done uh, on paper well beforehand, not last minute, not to play games, not to try to give yourself a handicap when you're as good as you say you are. And that's what happened. So it's my true, honest opinion that Tommy Fury never wanted to fight me. It was a setup all along to make him look better. That's how they got a last minute opponent. And I don't know too much about Rolly, but from the look of the guy and the look of his record, there's no way in hell he had any intentions, any bad intentions behind any punch he threw that night. And anybody that says otherwise is a casual fan and just needs to not talk to me or try to speak any sort of opinion about that, because you don't go from having all the accolades that Rolly has to hitting someone clean with a 1-2 and backing up across the ring and making a face like you just messed up royally. Like that's just not a thing. I came to fight. I'm the one opponent that he has that came to fight. He could have proved himself that night by fighting someone that actually wanted to bring it to him and actually wanted to fight. That is a southpaw, that is crafty, that does have knockout power, just like he has. I have a better knockout percentage than he has, and my opponent's records are also, if you total them all up, it's better competition than he has ever had. So when you put these things together, I just think my man didn't want to fight. And that's okay. And if you don't want to do certain things in life, you don't have to. You can buy your way out of them when you want to be a coward like that. That's okay. But don't lie to the public about it, you know?
Let me just ask you one last thing before we go. You mentioned about John Fury. He shook your hand at the weigh-in. He called you a real fighting man, whatever. You said that he offered you £100,000, $100,000, whatever it was.
I would have took pounds over dollars for sure.
Yeah, of course. Although the currency ain't looking too good right now. Look, offered you 100K anyway, and I know that John and Team Fury have said for certain things, but is there a part of you that respects or maybe thinks that behind closed doors, John Fury feels like you weren't treated fairly? The fact that we
He
saw
said
him,
it.
yeah.
He said it verbatim. When the commissioner called me, John actually ended up grabbing the phone from the commissioner and trying to make it right. John Fury definitely respects me. However, we had to sell the fight and we got into a little beef, me and his son. If you notice with all the other people that John Fury talks shit to, like he didn't do it with me. You see him at the weigh-in shaking my hand. He's on video calling me a warrior. I can't think of any other opponent that Tommy's had that he's done that with. Like, there's the proof is in the pudding. He definitely respects me. He definitely knows I was fucked. He didn't say that it was his team's fault. Obviously, if it was, he wouldn't tell me that. But yeah, no. And I have a mutual respect for John Fury as well. I still think his son's a punk, and I told him that, and I want to fight his son. But I don't know why people talk the way they do about John. John, he seems like a very solid guy. So it's my hope that he reaches out to me and we can come to some sort of amicable solution and we can make this fight happen. Because if there wasn't a storyline before and no one knew who I was before, now they do. I'm the guy that Tommy ran from. I'm the guy that Tommy didn't make weight for. I'm the guy that Tommy went out of his way to go fight an exhibition for because he didn't want to come to the terms. Because that family has money. That family has all these things. If they wanted it to happen, it would have happened. Like, it would have. But yes, I definitely respect John Fury. I have nothing but respect for him. I think the way he went about it was actually pretty solid. It was probably the only person that had like sound fucking judgment. Sorry, excuse my language. Like with sound judgment the entire time that we were dealing with when things were getting real messy and time was getting closer to the actual fight. So I'm actually betting on, hoping and betting on that something can take place, because like you said, like if I what I thought, he did say he respects me. He did say all these things, and he did acknowledge the fact that I was being treated unfairly, and he did try to explain to me that it was their first promotion and all that, which that part didn't matter to me, because if it's your first promotion and you're throwing something, you should be doing it right anyway, or not doing it at all. Like there's people's lives at stake when in this game. This is not football. You don't play boxing as everyone always says. It's a real thing.
All right, Paul. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us at Boxing Social and sort of making your events aware. Yeah, we really do appreciate it, and we'll get your story up straight away.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard very much so.